communicate is based on nonviolent communication. In a nutshell, nonviolent communication says people are basically good, and people's needs are basically similar, and if we can only really understand one another's needs, what need it is that needs to be met, and figure out how we can make sure your needs are met and my needs are met, we'll be able to come to a way to work things out. We can work things out as a community. But we need to develop language that lets us do that. And so we model that language all the time when we talk to each other. We model that language with the children at the peace table. So in the beginning, when Sarah has taken the pencil that Johnny wanted to have, and they're in the middle of a difficulty about it, and they go to the peace table, an adult will initially be there as a mediator, and we're going to help them model the language that they need to use. The person who feels that often we have a tool that will help them take turns in talking. Sometimes it's hard to take turns in talking. We happen to have a little dove that they can hold. Whoever's holding the dove gets to talk. When you're done talking, you give the dove to the other person. Some people use a talking stick, like a Native American talking stick. Some people have a peace rose. There are all kinds of different implements that you can utilize. Again, with little ones especially, the more concrete it is, the better, because they can see who's holding the dove. Okay, it's your turn to talk. What does the other person need to do? Listen, yes, not prepare for what they're going to say.
We do that too in the classrooms, I'm sure, and in all the other classrooms too, where it's not about conflict. So today we're writing a paragraph about what we did on our field trip yesterday, and so I had a talking ball this time, just I toss it to you and you get to share, so that you practice taking turns. If you only use a talking stick or a concrete object when you're disagreeing about something, then a lot of times that's tied to, we only take turns if
we're having a problem.
If we're fighting and we're going to try and resolve it. If we're taking turns in everyday conversation, we're probably going to avoid some conflicts too. If I get to say my whole thing and then you can say your whole thing, even if we don't agree, at least I got to say my thing, and that was what I needed to express what I was feeling, and then you got to express back. Instead of we're trying to jump over each other, so practicing those same things without any conflict at all, when we're all talking about the same thing and talking about how great it was, that helps keep it from only being, oh, we're really fighting now because we have to use this talking stick or whatever. So that helps kind of.
And see, again, that's the proactive aspect of it, that you learn to take turns in talking all the time, and that's part. I mean, that happens in every classroom, whether it's a ball or raising your hand and learning to wait until you're called on. We all know to raise our hands, but the waiting part is hard. But that, again, that's all the role playing, the modeling when it's not charged with emotion. But anyway, when it is charged with emotion, we have a special place that we can go, and we have a routine. In our school, we use this particular book, which is one that I came up with, and it actually has scenarios that we go through at circle time with the little ones about hands are for helping, if we work together we can get the job done, when you cooperate we can all make it happen better. I mean, they're very simple axioms is what we call them, but it gives the kids something to say. So if I hit him because I'm irritated with him, he can say to me, hands are for helping. You hurt my body. I don't like that. If you're angry, use your words. It gives them a language that helps them express themselves. They're being true to what's going on, but they're not saying, you're a dummy, you're mean, which is a typical reaction. Or, no, true? I mean, when it comes to conflict resolution, we have to be in there. Or for him to hit me back. So it's really important from the very, very beginning to be grounded in, this is what you do. And I knew this was working in my class when I was watching two kids, and in Montessori, most of the time, a lot aside from giving lessons, what we're doing is watching. We're observing. Montessori teachers, more than anything else, are trained observers. And I was in my class and I was watching. I saw something going on, and I could see it accelerating, and I was thinking, I think I might have to go over there and intervene before this gets too tense. And one little girl, she stood up and she put her hands on her hip and she went, well, I guess we just have to go to the peace table. And the two of them left the problem that was getting out of hand and walked over to the peace table, and they sat down and they began the ritual of solving the problem. And it really, I mean, it's a diffuser. When you've had enough practice, it's not like, oh no, what am I going to do? It's like, oh, well, we just have to go to the peace table. And then that was what told me, okay, this really is working. This really is going to make a difference for these kids. And I have to say that in a classroom, my classroom, I work with 3 to 6 year olds primarily. I have approximately 50 kids in that classroom. And the number of times that an adult actually has to intervene in issues that go on between children is so minimal that it's surprising. But I really attribute that to working with building relationship and conflict resolution techniques from the very beginning. Modeling them, role-playing them, giving children the opportunity to really express how they're feeling. That's another really important aspect of it, is helping, and we were talking about this earlier, helping kids recognize emotions in themselves and helping kids recognize emotions in others. How do you know he's angry? Are you sure he doesn't like you? So again, with the little ones from the very beginning, talking about body language, going through making different faces and saying, you know, if I look like this, how do you think I feel? All of those things. We are constantly modeling behavior. And so when we interact with one another, we have to be honest about how we're feeling. When we interact with the children, we have to be honest about how we're feeling. But we also have to have ways of expressing how we feel in ways that are not threatening to others and ways that other people can listen to. And that's what nonviolent communication gives you. And so working with it with the little ones from the very beginning sets the stage. Now, when we move into the elementary, we're looking at a child in a different stage of development. We're looking at children who think differently. We're also sensitive to fairness. I mean, you don't hear, that's not fair from a 4-year-old, but you sure do from a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
So we know that they are looking at what happens over here needs to happen over here. Otherwise, it's not fair. Now, their understanding of justice may not quite be as sophisticated as our understanding of justice, but we really need to take that into consideration when we talk about solving problems with them.
So I was reading this Montessori book last night, and she said that exact. She just says the justice usually found around the school and in the family at this age, so she's talking about 7 to 12-year-olds, could be called distributive justice. That is to say, equality for all, as much in the distribution of punishments as of rewards. And so, I mean, I'm sure we all see that, where it's got to be exactly the same for everybody, regardless of anything else. So there are these ridiculous solutions to problems that make sure every single thing is fair, instead of saying, well, why don't you just take turns? You know, that's what an adult would suggest. No, the kids are going to come up with this super complicated chart where everybody checks off exactly when they share and whatever, and you go with it because that's how they need to see it. You know, at least at this age. So
Yes. So, where we can do it with the kinds of things we use with the